Welcome to the 2017-2018 NCAA instructional video. I am June Courteau, the National Coordinator of Women's Basketball Officiating. It is my great pleasure to serve the game of basketball and work with the coordinators, officials, coaches, and all the stakeholders to make our game continue to grow and have it be the best it can be for the student athletes. During this instructional video, we will review plays that depict all points of emphasis, challenging plays and trends, and how the new rules and/or interpretations will impact how the game is to be officiated this season. The goal of this instructional and informative video is to develop a national style of officiating that will result in a consistent enforcement of the rules as written and display a working understanding of the spirit and intent of the rules during the non-conference, conference, and tournament play. It is all of the stakeholders' desire to have the same play officiated the same way, no matter in which conference or geographic region the game is located. In this instructional video, no attempt was made to embarrass any institution, coach, student athlete, or official. It is designed for continued improvement in officiating and understanding of the rules of the game for all involved. Let's begin. The Rules Committee has added rebounding to the points of emphasis for this upcoming season with the directive to reduce physicality and to call the first foul. Officials must continue to execute primary and secondary coverage positions on all rebounding situations and look for displacement fouls, arm clamps, and holding as the ball is on its way to the basket and as it is coming off the rim. Once a player has secured control of the rebound, she becomes a ball handler dribbler, and as such, the rules regarding how she may be contacted by a defender are applicable. We have seen that when officials miss the first foul committed against the player who has secured the rebound, excessive physicality often results. Let's look at some plays. 10 Red moves to rebound the ball, and as the ball is coming off the rim, uses her forearm to push and displace her opponent from her legal position. This illegal contact is a foul and is correctly called by the center official who has weak side rebounding responsibilities. Accurate call and spot-on coverage and signal on this play. In this play, as the ball is on its way to the basket, 15 White moves into rebounding position and uses her body to displace her opponent who got to the spot first and is in legal position. The lead official calls this obvious foul in her primary coverage area. We are seeing an increase in excessive physicality in rebounding situations, and we will remain vigilant throughout the season on calling this illegal action. As the ball is on its way to the basket, the highlighted players move to rebounding position, making incidental contact. 31 Orange secures the rebound and is in control of the ball when the defender reaches in, hacks, and grabs her forearm. This is a defensive foul. We are seeing an increase in illegal contact once the offensive player has secured control of the ball off of a rebound. The potential for additional fouls increase if we miss calling this illegal action. Understanding and executing consistent rebounding coverage will aid in our ability to make accurate decisions in rebounding plays. The Rules Committee has also added verticality as a new point of emphasis. Verticality applies to a legal position for both the offensive and defensive players. Some of the basic components of the principle of verticality are: verticality applies to a legal position. Legal guarding position must be established and attained initially, and movement thereafter must be legal. From such a position, the defender may rise or jump vertically and occupy the space within her vertical plane. The offensive player, whether on the playing court or airborne, shall not clear out or cause contact that is not incidental. The defender may not belly up or use the lower part of the body or arms to cause contact outside her vertical plane. Post defenders are assuming an initial vertical position while legally defending the post player, but are moving towards and into the post player, walking them out, as they are turning to the basket or as they jump to shoot. Officials have improved on calling this illegal contact in the post and are instructed to remain consistent throughout the season. We now need to focus on calling the first foul when defenders use the lower part of the body and/or their arms to cause illegal contact outside their vertical plane. The highlighted secondary defender establishes initial legal guarding position on the dribbler and stays within her vertical space. The offensive player initiates incidental contact into the defensive player. Since there is no illegal contact on this play, this is a correct no call. In this play, the highlighted offensive player picks up her dribble and is immediately defended by 3 blue, who jams her legs into the lower body of her opponent and extends her arm into her opponent's vertical space and hacks her right arm. This is a defensive foul. In trapping situations, we are seeing an increase of illegal body, arm, and hand contact by the defender when the dribbler has picked up her dribble. Officials are instructed to call the first foul to ensure that excessive physicality does not ramp up in all games this season. The highlighted defender moves toward her opponent, making illegal contact on the shooter. This is a blocking foul in the act of shooting. We continue to see defenders showing hands straight up, but making illegal body contact into the shooter's vertical space. Correct call by the lead official, who makes a one-step position adjust outside the closed-down position. Be patient, referee the defender throughout the play, and let it finish. We have seen improvement in calling unsportsmanlike fouls which occur late in the game and are specifically designed to stop the clock or keep the game clock from starting. Officials are instructed to continue this effort. Additionally, the Rules Committee has developed guidelines for officiating unsportsmanlike and disqualifying fouls. Let's review Appendix 3, Section 4 from the Rules Book. When determining whether a foul is to be ruled an unsportsmanlike or disqualifying foul due to the level of contact caused, the officials are to consider the severity of the contact caused by the fouler, whether the fouler's contact may be considered a legitimate basketball play. Note, a foul that is considered a legitimate basketball play may still be ruled an unsportsmanlike or disqualifying foul if other criteria are applicable. When the fouler commits a foul with her arm or hand, whether she winds up prior to contact or follows through after making contact, the potential for injury because of the contact, such as contact to the head or fouling a player in a vulnerable position, the severity of any injury suffered by the offended player, and the outcome of the contact. Does the contact lead to an altercation or fight? It is the Rules Committee's belief that these guidelines will aid in the assessment and decision-making process, which will result in the consistent application of this rule. Let's look at some plays. The highlighted defender makes illegal contact on her opponent, who is away from the ball and clearly not involved in the play. This illegal action is designed to prevent the game clock from starting. This is an obvious unsportsmanlike foul. The coach of the offended team will choose any member of her team to attempt 2 free throws. The ball will then be inbounded at the division line opposite the scorer's table by Brown. In this first of 2 somewhat similar but different plays, the highlighted secondary defender moves to defend 25 black. She jumps forward and into the shooter to block the shot and makes illegal body contact on the airborne shooter. This is a personal foul on 23 white. In this second play, 55 white jumps to block the shot and makes illegal contact on the airborne shooter's arm and continues with a follow-through action into the shooter's upper body while she is in a vulnerable position. This contact is judged to be hard and unnecessary. The crew reviews the play and correctly calls an unsportsmanlike foul. As the highlighted players move to rebound, focus first on 2 white, who grabs and holds her opponent's left upper arm. The officials missed the first foul. 25 black now flagrantly hits her opponent with severe elbow contact to the head. This is a disqualifying foul. The offended player will be ejected, and 2 free throws are awarded to any member of the offended team, followed by a throw-in at the division line opposite the scorer's table by the offended team. 3 seconds in the lane remains a point of emphasis for this upcoming season. Let's review the rule change. It is a violation for any part of a player's body to remain in the lane for more than 3 seconds while the ball is in control of that player's team in her front court. New this year, to establish a position outside the 3-second lane, the player must place both feet on the playing court outside the lane. This rule's change will provide officials the ability to consistently determine whether the offensive player has left the lane. Remember, the Rules Committee is not asking for numerous tight 3-second calls, but when an offensive player remains in the lane for more than 3 seconds, it needs to be called. Here are the plays for review. The highlighted offensive player is not in the lane for more than 3 seconds and legally clears the lane by placing both feet on the playing court outside the lane. This is a legal play. The highlighted offensive post player remains in the lane for more than 3 seconds. The lead official visually picks her up when she enters the lane just below the free throw line. This is the lead's primary coverage area. Freedom of movement and post play continue to be points of emphasis. Players must be permitted to move freely without being held, pushed, rerouted, or impeded. When guarding an opponent who does not have the ball, the defender must give the opponent time and distance to avoid contact. This time and distance given to the opponent of the defender need not be more than 2 strides. When players are cutting through the lane and there is a breakdown of proper court coverage, especially during a rotation and ball watching is occurring, we miss seeing and thereby calling illegal contact in the post area. Once a player has legally established her position as a defender on an offensive post player, she can neither displace her opponent nor be displaced from that position. When the offensive post player with her back to the basket is in control of the ball, holding or dribbling, the defensive post player may place a forearm or one hand with a bend in the elbow on the offensive player. When the post player turns and faces the basket, she is now a ball handler. The defender is allowed an appropriate reaction time to remove her hand or forearm. There has been an increase in illegal action during the setup phase by offensive and defensive post players, and also on the entry pass into the post. If we visually focus on the players in our primary and remain consistent on calling the first foul, we will go a long way in achieving our goal of allowing freedom of movement and cleaning up the post. Let's take a look at some plays. In this cutting situation, the highlighted defender uses her body and then her arms to impede and hold her opponent. This is a defensive foul for holding. In this cutting play, 2 black illegally impedes her opponent with her backside. She never established legal guarding position in the path of 12 white. This is a defensive foul for blocking. The center official correctly makes the call in her primary area. Quality coverage, accurate signal, and correct call. In this cutting situation, the highlighted post defender uses her left leg and arm to illegally reroute the offensive post player who is cutting across the lane. This is a defensive foul for pushing and a correct call by the center official. In this transition play, the post defender hooks and clamps the arm of her opponent. This illegal action occurs in the lead's primary coverage area, and she visually focuses on the 2 opponents and calls a defensive foul for holding. It is important for officials to call the first foul in the post and consistently enforce freedom of movement guidelines throughout the season. Great job here. A screen is legal action with or without the ball, which without causing contact delays or prevents an opponent from reaching a desired spot. The Rules Committee amended the screening rule this year to allow a screener to have the inside of her feet no wider than shoulder width apart. This allows for a slightly wider base when setting a screen. Remember, when the illegal contact by the screener is caused by either a foot, and/or leg that is wider than what is legally permitted, this is a foul. Uncalled illegal screens negatively affect freedom of movement in our game. Understanding time and distance principles when setting screens on a stationary player versus a moving player is imperative for accurate play calling. Let's review some screening plays. 11 Red sets an illegal screen on her moving opponent, not allowing ample time to stop and/or change direction. The highlighted dribbler moves to set a handoff screen and causes illegal contact that delays her opponent from reaching a desired spot. This obvious illegal screen is in the center's primary area, and she correctly calls an offensive foul. We are still seeing this type of illegal screen by the ball handler. Remember, screening action can be by any player, offensive or defensive, with or without the ball. 0 Black does not allow the defender ample time to stop and/or change direction, and also causes illegal contact into her opponent, which prevented her from reaching her desired spot. Offensive foul is the correct call. Knowing and understanding the rules pertaining to legal guarding position is critical for call accuracy. Officials are instructed to referee the defender and also have the offensive player in their view. Guarding is the act of legally placing the body in the path of an offensive opponent. To establish initial legal guarding position on the player with the ball, the guard shall have both feet touching the playing court facing her opponent. No time and distance shall be required and may then move laterally or obliquely, aslant or at a diagonal, to maintain her guarding position. When illegal contact occurs and the defender was not moving toward the ball handler, the responsibility for contact lies with the ball handler. Offensive players should not be rewarded when they initiate contact with a legal defender. This type of play should result in either a no call or, if illegal, a player control foul, but not a foul on the defender. Let's look at some plays. The highlighted defender establishes legal guarding position in the path of the dribbler and maintains that legal position by moving backward as she is displaced by the ball handler dribbler. This illegal contact initiated by the offensive player into the legal defender is a player control foul. In this transition play, the highlighted defender gets to the spot first, 2 feet down facing her opponent. The offensive player in control of the ball turns and charges into the legal defender. This is a player control foul. Correct call by the trail, who is in great position to see the defender and the ball handler. On this dribble drive play to the basket, secondary defender 33 Black moves to establish legal position to take a charge. She does establish legal guarding position before her opponent went airborne. The lead mirrors the ball, assumes a wide-angle position, referees the defender, and lets the play finish. This obvious illegal contact is correctly called a player control foul. Officials did a good job last season regarding making decisions on numerous block charge plays to the basket. Our emphasis again this season will be to referee the defender, who must establish initial legal guarding position before the offensive player has left the court, and continue to referee the defender after the shooter has left the playing court to know if they maintain their legal guarding position. We are still seeing defenders attempting to establish legal guarding position, but are late and then continue to move toward the airborne player with their lower body. Officials are instructed that when a block charge play involves an airborne player, and it is a close or tight play, and you are not certain that the defender had established initial legal guarding position and maintained that legal position throughout the play, then a blocking foul is the correct call. Let's review these plays. The highlighted defender extends her left leg into the dribbler, who is head and shoulders past the defender, affecting her rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. Freedom of movement is a point of emphasis, correct call, and quality enforcement of the guarding rule. The highlighted secondary defender moves to defend 52 white. On this center side drive to the basket, the dribbler beats her primary defender. The lead official visually picks up the secondary defender in her primary and assumes a pinch-the-paint position to referee the legality of the defender. The defender is late on the play, as she did not establish initial legal guarding position prior to the offensive player leaving the floor. Correct call by the lead. The highlighted secondary defender moves to defend the dribbler and is late in establishing legal guarding position before the shooter leaves the floor to shoot. The lead correctly calls a blocking foul. Remember, in real time, these types of block charge plays that involve a secondary defender are challenging. Continue to referee the defender and keep the offensive player in your view. When you have a tight or close play and you are not sure the defender was legal before the shooter left the floor, then blocking is the correct call. The Rules Committee has adopted the 4-foot arc for women's basketball. Let's review the location of the restricted area and the lower defensive box. The RA is bounded by the outer edge of the 4-foot restricted area arc. The lower defensive box, or LDB, is an imaginary box designated by 2 tick marks on the end line and the second lane space marks from the free throw line and distinguishes when the restricted area rule is or is not in effect. The restricted area is in effect when the player with the ball starts her move to the basket outside the LDB. The restricted area is not in effect when the player with the ball starts her move to the basket inside the LDB. A secondary defender is considered to be in the restricted area when any part of either foot is in or above this area. In all fast break situations, all defensive players are initially secondary defenders until they establish legal guarding position outside the RA. On this center side drive, 3 red beats her primary defender and charges into the secondary defender who is located in the restricted area to take a charge. The lead official calls the blocking foul and points to the RA. The center is responsible for the primary defender on the backside of this play. Great call and accurate signal. The highlighted secondary defender did not establish initial legal guarding position before her opponent left the floor. She is late on this play. Blocking is the correct call. The official displays the correct blocking signal, and even though the secondary defender is in the RA, the official correctly does not point to the RA. Remember, when you point to the RA, you are saying that the secondary defender is illegal only because she is in the RA. This secondary defender is illegal because she did not establish legal guarding position prior to the offensive player leaving the floor to shoot. Good call here. The highlighted secondary defender does not establish initial legal guarding position outside the RA when the illegal contact occurs. This is a blocking foul for being in the restricted area to take a charge when the illegal contact occurred. On this play, if the defender would have been outside the RA, this would have been a player control foul. It is important that we show the correct signal on these types of plays to communicate to our partners, players, coaches, and media why this is a blocking foul. When calling a blocking foul on a secondary defender because she was located in the restricted area on a play that originated outside the LDB, the calling official must sound the whistle and raise one hand, fist clenched, and show a blocking signal, then point to the RA. The highlighted offensive player receives the ball and makes her move to the basket inside the LDB. The RA is off. This is a straight-up block charge play. 50 Purple gets to the spot first and establishes initial legal guarding position. The offensive player charges into the legal defender. This is a player control foul. The lead referees the players in his primary area and has a great view of the defender and the offensive player. Accurate call and quality mechanics. Our efforts to have a free-flowing game starts with consistent enforcement of illegal contact on the ball handler dribbler. Officials are instructed to call a foul when a defender contacts the ball handler dribbler, anytime with two hands, by placing a hand, front or back of the hand, on the ball handler dribbler and keeping it on, more than once with the same hand or with alternating hands, or with an armbar. The highlighted defender places her left hand followed by her right hand on the dribbler. Good position adjust by the center to trail to see and then call this obvious illegal contact. This is an automatic foul for multiple hand contact on the ball handler dribbler. It is critical that officials stay consistent on enforcement of this rule throughout the entire season. On this drive through the lane, White 24 places her forearm away from her body on the dribbler. The trail official position adjusts to see and referee the defender and correctly calls a defensive foul for an illegal armbar on the BHD. In this backcourt situation, the on-ball defender contacts the dribbler with her left hand and takes it off, hot stove, which is legal, and then places two hands on the dribbler. This two-hand contact on the BHD is an automatic foul, and the trail official makes the correct call. As stated earlier, the Rules Committee has extended the coaching box from 28 feet to 38 feet. Per the directive from the Rules Committee, coaches should not be out of the coaching box without penalty. When a coach is clearly and completely outside the coaching box, but is not engaged in unsporting behavior, the head coach is to be issued a warning. A technical foul will be called on the head coach when they are again clearly and completely outside the coaching box. If all officials will consistently enforce the coaching box rule, the coaches will adjust and comply with the rule. Bench decorum and sportsmanship remain a strong concern nationally. Officials should review Appendix 3, Officiating Guidelines, Section 1, Bench Decorum. Officials are instructed to be approachable and communicate effectively. When coaches engage in minor conduct infractions, they should receive a verbal warning from officials and understand that any subsequent violation results in a technical foul. Any egregiously blatant conduct violation while inside or outside the coaching box shall be properly penalized without warning with a technical foul. Officials, please know there is continued strong support to enforce rules against unsporting behavior by players, coaches, and bench personnel. Let's all work together to make the optics of bench decorum a minor part of our game. This media fan video is intended to assist the media and fans in understanding the rules of the game and points of emphasis. There will be additional videos made available during the season to further educate and clarify key plays of the game. Thank you for your support and passion for this great game.